What's going on YouTube? This is ParkerLad88 coming at you with another video. I had an intro for my latest deck profile planned for this, but in the midst of editing, I accidentally deleted it, and I'm too lazy to make a new one. So this is going to be my deck profile for my take on Shaddolls, which I'm going to call Toy Clown. I hope you guys enjoy, and let's go ahead and get started. So let's go ahead and get started with our monsters. We're going to start with the Shaddol aspect of Toy Clown, starting off with 2 copies of Shaddol Falco. On flip, he lets you special summon a Shaddol monster from your graveyard in face down defense, and when he's sent to the graveyard via card effect, he special summons himself in face down defense. He is a tuner, lets us go for our synchro plays, and lets us form the field with Shaddol monsters so that we can get pluses from Shaddol Fusion or what have you. Next up, we have 2 copies of our Searcher in the form of Shaddol Hedgehog. Hedgehog on flip allows you to search for Shaddol Spell Trap, and when sent to the graveyard via card effect, he allows you to search for a monster. Next up, we have 2 copies of Squamata. Squamata is one of our beaters. When he is sent to the graveyard via card effect, he is a foolish for any Shaddol card, which is really awesome. And then he also on flip is Spot Removal. He lets you target one monster on the field and destroy it. So you can destroy your opponents, you can destroy your own. I don't know why you want to destroy your own, but the fact that you can is nice. Next up, we have 2 copies of Shaddol Dragon. Dragon is another beater, and also on flip, he lets you target one of your opponent's cards, send it back to hand. So something that can't be destroyed by battle or destroyed by card effects, you just send it straight back to the hand. Another form of spot removal. And then when he's sent to the graveyard via card effect, he acts like an MST or Dust Tornado, what have you, and basically pops a spell or trap on the field. So that's really cool. I love spell and trap removal because I don't like dealing with trap cards. Next up, we have 1 copy of Beast. We only run Beast at 1 because we don't want to dead draw into him, or we want to eliminate as much of that as possible. And what he does is when he's sent to the graveyard via card effect, lets you draw 1. When he slip, you draw 2 and discard 1. So he's great at triggering your Shaddol effects and whatnot, and just going through your deck and making sure you get your defensive cards or whatever the heck you need. Then our last monster is one of my favorites, if not my most favorite, in the form of Shaddol Hound. I like Shaddol Hound because when he's sent to the graveyard via card effect, he allows you to change the battle position of any monster in the field. Your opponents, so you can protect your monsters until you want to use them, and for your own monsters, for your Shaddolls, you can flip them up. Like for instance, you can set a dragon, you can set a Hedgehog and foolish this guy, and flip up the Hedgehog, search for Shaddol Fusion or no Shaddol Fusion. He facilitates plays like that, and that's why I really like him. He's really high utility, multi-purpose card. And he also has the ability on flip to Warrior Returning Alive any of your Shaddol cards. You can do any of your spell traps, any of your monsters, whatever you need. And that does it for the Shaddol aspect of Toy Clown, so now let's move into the Clown aspect of Toy Clown, starting off with 3 copies of Damage Juggler. Damage Juggler is one of the most broken of the Perform Mage monsters, of the Clown monsters, because this is what he does. So if during either player's turn, if a card would be activated that would inflict damage, you can send it to the graveyard to negate the activation of that card and destroy it. He also has the added ability of during the battle phase, you can send him to the graveyard in order to negate any damage from the next damage you would take. You don't take any damage. And then, if that wasn't enough, what he also does is you can banish him from the graveyard to search for any Perform Mage monster that you want. And pretty much none of these effects are like you can only use the effect of this card once per turn and only once that turn. You can use all 3 of them pretty much at the same time. But the searching one, you only get 1 time. Otherwise, that'd just be unfair. So, yes, I run him at 3. I think he is the most broken one. He is great for recruiting your other Perform Mage monsters so you can go for your crazy plays. Next up, we have 2 copies of Hat Tricker. I'm not going to go into its other effect that makes it like 3,000 or whatever the heck. The only important thing about him is that there are 2 or more monsters, period, either on your side of the field or your opponent's side of the field, whatever combination. If there are 2 monsters, then you can special summon this guy from out of your hand for free. He really helps you go for those Exceeds plays and not having to waste your normal summon or commit to anything whenever you do those things. So he's really great for that reason. And he's the primary thing that I like to search out with Damage Juggler. Next up, we have, of course, Trick Clown. Trick Clown, whenever he is sent to the graveyard in any way, shape, or form, you can target 1 Perform Mage monster in your graveyard, special summon it to the field, you take 1,000 damage for it, and that monster's attack becomes 0/0. He is also used for helping you go for those Exceed plays. You activate one of your Shaddol fusion spells, send him with one of your Shaddol monsters, he comes out, then you can summon the 4, or you can special summon out Hat Tricker, and go for seize plays and crazy stuff like that. And that does it for the clown aspect. And then we run one copy of T-King because T-King is good. And that does it for all the monsters. Let's go ahead and move into our spells. We start off with 3 copies of the most broken of the Shaddoll fusion spells in the form of El Shaddoll Fusion. It's a spell speed 2 polymerization. What more could you ask for in this deck? Next up, we have 2 copies of Shaddoll Fusion. I only run 2 just because a lot of decks these days, they don't really special summon from the extra deck, and if they know you're playing Shaddolls, they're going to go out of their way to make sure that they don't special summon from the extra deck so that you can't, go crazy plus off of it. That being said, Shaddoll Fusion is still a good card, so it's definitely worth at least running at 2, if not 3. I thought about bumping this up to 3 just to make sure that I'm getting a Shaddoll Fusion spell in my hand, but I've still been testing it at 2 and it's been working out pretty well for me up to this point, ever since I cut it to 2. And you guys know what Shaddoll Fusion does, but I'll go ahead and mention it. If your opponent controls a monster from the extra deck, then you can fusion summon from the deck, so you can go crazy plus, especially with the clowns. Next up, we run 2 copies of Wonder Wand. If this is part of our draw support, you target a spellcaster, equip it to it, it gains 500 attack, so you can basically make your weaker ones beaters. But the important thing is that you can send this and the spellcaster to the graveyard and draw 2. This behind Trick Clown and Damage Juggler, and sometimes even with Hat Tricker, just because you don't have to commit to your normal summon with them, is really stupid. It's free draw support, and you get a free monster or a free search or just whatever out of it, so it's definitely graded 2, I think. I've been running this card ever since I started playing Shaddoll, and I've never questioned taking it out, ever. Next up, we run 2 MST for dealing with back row. We run 1 Allure of Darkness because we have plenty of dark targets that we can get rid of, and extra draw support so we can get to whatever answers that we need, or just defensive options, or whatever is really nice. 1 copy of Raigeki because you kind of have to. And then we have 1 copy of Foolish Burial, just, because Shaddolls stuff. And even the clowns, they of course get their effects off being sent to the graveyard, so it's a multi-purpose card that I can use for whatever I need it for. And that does it for all the spells. Next up, we're moving into the traps, probably one of the trap heaviest decks I run. We run 3 copies of Sinister Shadow Games. It's a Foolish Burial. It allows us to flip up our Shaddoll so we can get our Shaddoll effects. This card is really stupid. There's never a time I don't want to see this card, so I'm always happy to have it in my hand to facilitate my nutty plays during my opponent's turn before I actually take my turn. Then we run 2 copies of Core. I love running this card at 2. I think everyone should run this card at 2, at least run it, period, because in addition to acting as a trap monster so you can beat with it, I can turn it into a beater with Wonder Wand, it's free draw power, and it counts for any attribute so I can go for any of my Shaddoll fusions, which is really cool. And when sent to the graveyard, I get back a Shaddoll spell trap, so I can just go right from my fusion spells. Next up, we have 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill for negation. 1, Vanity's Emptiness, because Vanity's Emptiness is good, and it's really good behind Construct or Window or what have you. And then our summoning turns in the form of Bottomless and Song. And that does it for all the traps. Yeah. Thank you. And next, let's go ahead and move into the extra deck. We start by running the 3 obligatory copies of the best monster in Shaddolls in the form of El Shaddoll Construct. Shaddoll Construct, whenever it's special summoned, you can Foolish any Shaddoll cards that you want, and then it also has the added ability of catastering into any special summon monsters. This is pretty much the card that you go into all the time. I use this card so much just to accumulate advantage and just to get rid of problem cards in my way. And working out with Damage Juggler and Trick Clown, it just makes it really easy to plus with this thing, because Trick Clown goes to the graveyard, special summon in addition to getting this thing, and whatever else you decide, and whatever Shaddoll you use for it, sending Damage Juggler just to get a search so I can get crap going. Really great. Next up, we run 2 copies of Winda. Winda is still good. Limiting your opponent to only 1 special summon is really awesome, and the fact that it can't be destroyed by card effects is also good. We have 1 copy of Annoy Tillis, who says that neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard or from the hand with spells or traps. It's for the Necroz matchup, but that's pretty much it. We run 1 copy of Shikinaga. Shikinaga, excuse me, is a Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare in a body. 26 body over 3,000. It's a pain to get over, and the control that it offers you is nice. You can negate the activation of a special summon monster's effect. If you have a Shaddoll card in hand, you negate that, and then you send the Shaddoll card, so you can be sure to plus off of said Shaddoll card, if it's a monster. Then we run 1 of the Slept Upon one, the one that nobody runs, but I love running this guy. Every time I summon this guy out, I'm always in a position where I'm going to win, and, you know, people have trouble dealing with this. He is a T-King in a body, the same way that Shikinaga is a Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare in a body. The effects work the exact same way. So, I love this guy, plus his artwork is just so cool. I love Gem Knight's second favorite deck. And that does it for all of our fusions. Let's move into our Exceeds, since we are running an Exceed engine now. We start off by running Diamond and Polamayos. This is basically for those problematic matchups, for dealing with the Shaddoll Mirror, for dealing with Burning Abyss, for dealing with Infernoids, basically just all that stuff that Shaddolls can have a not-so-great matchup against. Alright, and next up for the rest of the extra deck, we have one copy of 101. I don't have a spot removal, just like a out card, so that's why I chose to run 101 over running something like Abyss Dweller and stuff like that. Pretty much everything that I run Abyss Dweller for, these guys can pretty much handle, so I don't see the reason to run it, at least for now. I want to try doing this before I go to Abyss Dweller, since I'm not running Castel in favor of running other things. So, I mean, you guys know what 101 does, I don't have to go over it. Next up, we run one copy of Performage Trapeze Magician. I'm running Clowns. I have to run this card. This card is so freaking good. It does so many things. So, what this guy does is I do not take damage that is equal to or less than his attack. So 2500 and less, I don't take that as damage with him. That's the first thing. Second thing is, once per turn during either player's turn during the main phase 1, I can target one monster, any monster on the field. It can make 2 attacks, but at the end of the battle phase, it dies. So it offers some very interesting offensive and defensive options. This behind Construct is an OTK. It's like 8100 damage, I think I calculated once. And that is retarded, because this thing can still attack. And then the last thing that it does is that when it's sent to the graveyard, if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by because it was destroyed by your opponent's card effect, or because it was destroyed in battle, then you can special summon a free Perform Mage monster straight from the deck. So this card is amazing. If I could run it more than one, then I would, but this card is great. I also wanted to mention, because I actually left it in one of my other decks, I also run Daigusto Emerald in this deck. It's really easy to go for. I don't run Exodios like I used to make room for the Clown, so I needed a way to, still cycle back my Shaddoll stuff. Because, I mean, Shaddoll still suffer from the same problem. They can run out of their resources really quickly, and I like keeping Emerald around at the right time just to make sure that I can generate, extra advantage and just recycling power. Plus, it's fun just to, when I'm just putting all the monsters out there and I'm plussing, so like, the Gusto Emerald, yeah, draw one, put stuff back. It's pretty cool, and I can put this back over too to abuse this even more. So I also run one copy of Daigusto Emerald, and that does it for all the Exceeds. And the last thing I run is one Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Tree. I wanted to keep at least one Synchro in here. Now, between running Armades and running this card, I can make this card a lot easier in this deck than I can Armades. So this Fusion, and then the Falco, and then the Synchro, and this guy. And he's a really good option. He's a beater. You can't target him except for during your main phase 2, so I think he's a great Synchro option. And that does it for the extra deck. So guys, this was my take on Shaddolls, which I call Toy Clowns. Let me know what you guys think about it, and I will be back at you later with future videos. This is ParkerLad.